Uh-oh. I thought we were frozen for a second, but you know what? We are here and we are live. And welcome to the Just Joking podcast. Yeah. I am one half of the podcast king.
And I'm Joe.
And here at the Just Joking podcast, Joe and I and you, the viewers or listeners, tune in to hear us talk about whatever the funk we want to talk about. And today we have brought you guys one update and two topics of conversation that we would like to bring to you guys for discussion. All right. Before we get into that, where are we streaming at? Right now, currently, we are live every other Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, streaming on Facebook and YouTube. You can find us at just Joe/King podcast. If you're watching, do us a favor, hit that like button. All right. If you catch this on the replay, do us a favor, hit that like button. We also put this out on all audio podcasting platforms, or most of the major podcasting platforms on audio as well. So if you don't want to watch us and see our beautiful, handsome faces, listen to us where you listen to most of your podcasts in audio format. All right, Joe, how you doing,
So,
brother?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Hey, I'm doing swell. I have to point out the fact that you and I saw each other 2 days in a row this last past week, which is rare for us.
Crazy. Yeah.
When you think about it, man, we
Oh, yeah.
had a mutual friend of ours, friend of the podcast, CQ, aka Pop Culture Warrior, aka he's met everybody on the planet. And he had invited us over for a gathering, a get together, if you will, a very festive activity. And I appreciate you swinging by to pick me up because your boy's title over here is jacked up. So I'm kind of carless until that gets fixed. All right,
Yeah.
hold on. So I appreciate you for that. And then we went and saw Dragon Ball Super, man. What did you think about the movie?
I loved it. I thought it was great. It wasn't about the people it typically is about, which was great because they're
Mhm.
characters that we still know and we love and we think about, when we're watching Goku and Vegeta do all the work, we forget about the guys who were there in the beginning. So it was really cool. A lot of fun. Hope it opens up some new doors in the future of the series. So good times. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I think that everything that you said was also what I agree about too. It was refreshing to not see Vegeta or Kakarot, come in to like save the day or whatnot. So I enjoyed it. For those of y'all
Yeah.
that watch movies, if you like Dragon Ball and you haven't already seen it, it is in theaters for a limited time. I suggest go and check it out at your local theater near you. All right. Here at the Just Joking podcast, we also like to check in with one another. All right. The things that I find important are your physical, mentals, your chickens, as Marshawn Lynch says, who just recently got in trouble actually about a month ago. Uh, Physical, mental, financial, and spiritual. All right. And I don't rank any one of them more important than the other. And personally, I'm not a spiritual person myself, but those are the four areas that I think most people would agree kind of make up a person and their well being. So, Joe, how have you been, man? How's everything going for you in those four areas, brother?
Decent, decent. Been
Okay.
busting my ass at work lately, so I've been staying super busy. Um, but remember, I talked a few times about how the VA's been dropping the ball.
Hmm.
Um, Still haven't really gotten that appointment I've supposed to regularly have since January. Yeah, dude, still. I just got an update from one of my other providers that I have an appointment coming up, so I'm going to use that to talk to them some more and try to see if I can get in and finally get to see someone. In the meantime, the Wounded Warrior Project came through for me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dub P.
Yeah, so they actually got me 12 appointments with a mental health provider on the economy for free for me. um, and within 3 weeks, which is nuts because anytime you set up an appointment with the VA, you got 2 months to 3 months wait. And I get it, like their providers are super packed. There's loads of people with mental health stuff, which tells you an awful lot. It's very telling. Um, so like 3 weeks is insanely quick, and just very grateful for the Wounded Warrior Project to help me out because I've gone so long without a therapist, and it ain't easy, man. I'm just like, because I mean, I've shared my story before. I've been really, really low before, and I don't want to go back. I've put in a lot of work to be healthier and better emotionally and mentally and stuff like that. But not seeing a therapist when I'm supposed to see one every other week is just hard, you know?
How did you reach out to WWP? Like, is there a specific resource that you use that worked?
No, like somebody called to check in. Somebody just called to check in and was like, "Hey, do you need any help? Any mental health support? Stuff like that." I was like, "Yeah, actually, it never occurred to me to like, even though I know the Wounded Warrior Project has resources and stuff like that, it doesn't always click up here to call and ask for help outside of the VA because I'm trying to navigate the VA. I'm trying to get the VA to do what they're supposed to be doing, and yeah, so they just called to check in, and it helped a lot.
Good, good. Okay. I like to hear when a resource works as advertised. And I had made the assumption that you had reached out to them, but it's good to see that they reached out to you and you had the mindset to, actually be honest about what you needed versus kind of what some people do. They're like, either they think I don't want to be a burden or, something that I kind of hear commonly is, you know, I got other things to kind of worry about at this moment. So they put their own self kind of on the back burner. So it's good to see that you were able to talk to them when they reached out and that, action came from it
Yeah.
to get you the resources that you need. So shout out to Dub P. We have talked about them as a nonprofit several times, and I'll be an advocate as well to say that take a look at them. Like they aren't the only nonprofit out there that can help out as a veteran. All right, and there are certain things. You have to certain they cater to certain veterans, so not like all veterans would qualify. But they'll be one of the first to tell you, and I'll also say the same thing as well. Even if like let's say you're an older veteran, right? And actually, this is something that happened. A guy who was like in his 80s needed help moving. All right. And I got asked if I knew of a resource or something that could help out. And I'm like, personally, no. I know several veterans, but a lot of the veterans I know, I'm not gonna call us or y'all old and decrepit, but it's
Or
like
busted.
moving, furniture and stuff isn't something that I'd feel comfortable asking them to do. However, there's a
Yeah.
resource center and I pointed this person to the resource center, and I know that they got the help that they needed. I wasn't sure if the resource center was the reason for that, but they'll be the first to tell you, hey, we may not be able to help you, but they're connected to other resources because it's called the resource center and avenues that would be that has the right makeup to be able to help you out. So they are just gonna go, there's nothing that we could do, sorry, and like walk away from you. So I tell people all the time, check them out. Check them out. There's people that feel some type of way about WWP for whatever reason, but somebody said something to me the other day that just makes sense. No organization or no one person is never going to have a 100% approval rating from all entities because everybody just has their own makeup of what they value and what they don't value. And it is what it is. I can tell you, I've seen a positive impact, a direct impact with veterans through them. So I'd say add it to your tool belt and check them out. Um, how about
How are
anything
you?
else, man? Is there anything else, real quick?
Ah, work, life, that sort of thing. How have you been doing?
Hey man, same old, same old. It is let's see, my physical's good. I've been better about getting sleep here lately, My
That's good.
sleep always trash. I don't say always. It's most likely trash. I have a hard time turning my brain off, so it makes sleep interesting, elusive. Let's see. My other physical, man, I'm starting to, starting to trim up a bit. Hey, I told y'all, watch out. Cause if your boy starts slimming up, I'm gonna be a menace out here in these streets. And
Getting ready
then
for hot girl summer.
hey, getting ready for hot boy, hot girl summer, F boy fall, whatever you want to call it. Let's see, my finances, man. I've been working to get those in order. That was a source of stress for me for a while, but I've slowly been working my plan to get my finances in check and things like that. And by getting my finances in check, it's helped alleviate some stress. Shout out to Beth. She's joined and listening. Hey, Beth, she said, can't wait to hear your takes on these topics. Hey, I appreciate you for jumping in as long as you can. And if you have anything to add, please do. We welcome all comments and feedback over here at the Just Joking podcast. All right. So and then the final thing on the check-in, man. I told you about spirituality. I'm not a very spiritual person myself, so I don't have any comments on that. But the finances, the mentals, the physicals, they're doing good. Or as Marshawn Lynch say, how's your chickens doing? Which when I was like, what's chickens? But he was talking about your mentals. All
Mm.
right. So that's good. All right. We have 3 topics today. Kind of what came out earlier today, and I am affected by this, is the student loan relief that was announced earlier this afternoon. Joe, is that something that affects you or your household as well?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, it does affect me, and I'm thankful for it.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
also, we are also going to talk about, there was a guy who rose up to fame really quick, a kickboxer by the name of Andrew Tate. Okay. I watch and listen to a lot of content around dating and relationships and things like that. It's a very popular topic. And this guy kind of rose into the ranks of somebody that amassed a following for his takes on people in general. And he recently got deplatformed for some of his views. And
Interesting.
in my opinion, and we are going to talk about this a little bit more, he got deplatformed on Facebook, TikTok, and I think Instagram. And whether
Wow.
you agree with his takes or not, I'd like to discuss how dangerous deplatforming speech and stuff can be based off of what's being talked about. And then the
Cool.
final thing that we are going to discuss, and this spurned from a conversation that Joe and I had this past weekend, is oppression. And I hope I don't get canceled for this, people's perceived oppression. All right.
Mm.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. Shout out to Ellie for joining the chat as well. She's watching over there on Instagram. I appreciate Ellie for tuning in as well. All right. Topic number 1, and let's get this up on the screen here. Unless you've been living under a rock, all right. Let's see. Survey says I got to go faster. Where's my assistant at? My assistant is not on the ball with this. All right. Topic number 1. If you go to Federal Student Aid's Twitter website, all right, or studentaid.gov, they have made the announcement about how the student loan cancellation is going to be added out there to the people that this applies to. All right. And there's people on both sides of the coin about whether this is a good thing or a bad thing and its long-term effects. Joe, I'll admit, I'm not smart enough to understand the long-term implications for this, but for me, the short-term effects are good on my personal pocketbook. All right.
Yeah.
I was able to acquire most of my undergrad and graduate degree using the Montgomery GI Bill and the post
Hmm.
9/11, but for reasons that were stupid, I needed a federal loans to assist in finishing my graduate degree. And the amount that I have, I'll say this publicly, is just over 10,000. All right, is what I needed to finish my graduate degree. And there were three things that got announced today regarding the student debt relief plan that you can find on studentaid.gov. All right. So there's three parts to this. Part one, for those people that, when COVID happened, there was an extension on paying the student loans back. All right. And it's been paused since like 2020 sometime. They're going to extend the pause on the payments through December 30th. And this is going to be the last extension. Come January 23, if still owe on your student loans, them payments are going to start resuming. So for those of y'all that might have more than the amount that's going to be canceled, I would take advantage of the fact that it is 0% interest right now, and start paying down or putting down what you can to try and bring your balance down. All right. The other part, and this is what applies to me, and this is what one of the comment was talking about based off of what I said, providing targeted debt relief to low and income middle families. And it says right here, to smooth the transition back to repayment and help borrowers at high risk of delinquencies. The U.S. Department of Education will provide up to $20,000 in debt cancellation to Pell Grant recipients with loans held by the Department of Education, and up to $10,000 in debt cancellation to non-Pell Grant recipients. This is key right here, though. Borrowers are eligible for this relief if their income is less than $125,000 or $250,000 for households. And let me tell you, this puts a big smile on my face, because this will knock me down to zero, because part of what I had was Pell Grants. So
You know what kills me? It says
yeah.
relief to low and middle income families, and the range is 125,000 to 250,000. That should tell you an awful lot. If they consider people who make as a household make under close to 250,000 is still middle income.
Yep.
Like
Hey,
what? Like what does it take to be high income families? You know what I mean? What kind of bucks do you got to be raking in for that? Jesus.
for
Which
real.
which is telling of us, because we're just like, hey, we fall in this window, we're good, you know.
Mm-hmm. All I know, most people, because like I remember growing up and then hearing about, six figures. Like that's kind of a
Yeah,
milestone for
that's the
people, is when,
milestone.
as an
Yeah,
individual, yourself, like not the combined household, but just at one person makes over six figures annually. All right.
yeah,
With inflation, man, that's starting to feel a little bit tighter. And it depends on where you live. Like if you make six figures where we live, that
it's not a
ain't,
lot.
yeah,
It's nothing.
you
Yeah.
know what I'm
But
saying?
my thing, but my thing is a couple making, listen to the words, $250,000 a year is still not considered high income families. $250,000. If million can be in the description anywhere in in your income, that should not be, you should not be considered low to middle. Like that's crazy. I mean, obviously inflation, markets, all this other nonsense, but damn,
Mm-hmm.
we still got some hustling to do. Holy shit.
Yep. So in the frequently asked questions, I'm not going to cover the first two here, as you can kind of read these for yourselves by going to the website, which I'm going to put in the live stream. All right. But the third one here, what do I need to do in order to receive the loan forgiveness? Nothing. You don't have to do anything. It is going to automatically be done. But there is a thing that I heard that always made sense to me: trust, but verify. All right.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be logging in, checking my accounts from time to time to see if that joint got
Fucking
wiped to zero.
daily
Yep.
until it goes off. So Beth was saying when I was young, living in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, 50K was well off to do. And that's true. Obviously, times have shifted dramatically. But to think maybe, and no offense to you, I'm thinking back when I was a kid in the 90s, like 50K was a large amount of money. Again, it's 2022 and $250,000 is not high income. Obviously that probably means half a mil is, but I mean, damn, what do you got to be doing to get half a million a year? So essentially, to be considered anything above middle class, you have to be a CEO of a company. You
Basically.
know what I mean? Like you
Yes.
have to
Or
basically make. Go
yep.
ahead.
Or have your own business, right? Which,
Yeah,
CEO essentially or whatever, but
raking in two
be
hundred thousand
raking
dollars
in
plus.
money. Exactly.
Yeah.
Whew.
Jeez.
Yeah, brother. And
Jeez.
then there is a part 3 to this announcement as well, is that if you are on an income-based repayment plan, which they do have, like there's several different types of plans that you can choose to be on. All right. They're going to max the amount that you can pay up to 5% of your discretionary income monthly. Previously, it was 10%. And for some people, the income repayment plan made sense. Like if they had, 60,000 in um student aid loans or whatever, but then, their first job upon graduating, was an entry level job that didn't make that much, and they just had to start making those payments back. It used to be 10% of your discretionary income. Now it's dropping it
Yeah.
down to 5% if you participate on
Pro-
that.
Problem is the interest is gonna fucking destroy you.
It
So
can.
like all these things sound great, but if your interest rates are astronomical, you're gonna get crushed by the interest. Like
Hmm.
10 million on some of these loans is nothing. That's like interest for a few months. You know what I mean? Like the loans are super predatory. It's not a question of repaying 10K. It's a question for a lot of people of paying back $50,000. 10K helps. 10K feels like something. Don't get me wrong, but ultimately it's not a ton of things. But at the same time, part of me is like, my tax dollars should be paying for people's school. You know what I mean? Nobody was going to pay for me to go to school except for the military. So but again, I don't have student loans. If I did have student loans, I might be a little happy about this. So I get it. You know what I mean? And if they're going to help people out, they're going to help people out. That's awesome. I just don't. I hope it doesn't hurt anybody else because they keep saying that the inflation isn't going to be affected. I don't know how much I believe that. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. There's two parts of this that I'm curious about. A, if there's going to be any tax implications to me, which that website didn't necessarily cover, but I'm pretty sure that there's going to be more that comes out about this.
Guarantee
Uh
it.
and then B, like that money was a good source of our US's balance sheet, right? So, how much of that is going to be forgiven, and what happens to that loss of income that originally we were planning on as a country that's now gone? Like, where does that come from? All right.
Exactly.
So, I
None of
think
this
we
money's
do.
coming from nowhere. It's coming
Yep.
from people's pockets.
Yep.
Instead of getting spent somewhere else, it's getting spent on people's education. So, I mean, what does all that mean? Where does it come from? Where does it go? You know?
Where does it come from? Where does it go?
Exactly why I laughed.
All right.
Exactly
So,
why I
hey,
laughed.
y'all tell us if y'all have any idea or any thoughts about it. Put it in the chat. We are going to go to the next topic, but if you do
Yeah,
put
love it or
something
hate
down
it.
in the chat, we will come back to read it.
Yeah,
All
love it or
right.
hate it. Let us know.
Our second topic: did Andrew Tate deserve to get banned? All
All
right.
right. Paint this
Now,
picture for me. Go ahead.
all right. So Andrew Tate was a professional fighter, kickboxer.
Hmm.
All right. And he has came out. and he does content online as well. A lot of the things that he talked about, people considered wildly misogynistic in nature. Okay. And
Okay.
I wish that the article that I found had
Stated what he said.
some of the things that he brought up or some of his quotes.
Yeah.
But also, too, there's this part of me that go, can you necessarily take a look, especially for somebody that has loads and loads of content, and pull out one thing that they say and judge them based off of that? All right. So that's part of what we're going to talk about as well. But I'm going to bring up the screen here for the viewers. All right. If you're listening to this on audio, come watch the screen. Come watch the replay. So it says right here, the internet personality and former kickboxer Andrew Tate has spoken out after being banned from Facebook, IG, YouTube, and TikTok this week, accused of misogyny. All right. Now, Joe, do you know what that word means, misogyny?
Of course.
All right. By your definition, what's misogyny?
So, obviously, you saw the definition just now on the thing. Um, less than disdain for, because I honestly I understand that the pure definition is disdain of the opposite sex, but I honestly I feel like it's men with a very specific view of what women should do and what women are, and it's usually pretty bad. It's usually pretty toxic, which is why misogyny is the word given to it. But yeah, yeah. I think
Okay.
sometimes though things are misconstrued as being misogynistic simply because they don't like what they hear, and that's no offense to anybody. I'm just saying that sometimes that does happen. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
dislike of contempt for or ingrained prejudice against women. And I mean, there are a lot of people out there, a lot of dudes like that. And honestly, to hold on, and to be fair, there are some women out there like that. Like, I think
Yes.
the definition implies it's strictly a male perspective, but I've seen women who damage the case for women by going along with some of the things that misogynists and other people push, that agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be women too. It's not just men who can be misogynistic.
Bingo.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think a lot of people, when they use the term, they apply it to men only. And I'm like, but wait,
Yeah.
is
There's
it
quite
a
a few there's quite a few female politicians I feel who spew misogynistic stuff, and that's scary because it damages women's struggles, you know?
so partly, or kind of part of the reason why he's either loved or hated, really, essentially, is some of his earlier content and even some of his most recent stuff. He would use words or phrases like women should stay at home or that women belong to their male partners. Now, these quotes are taken out of things that while he was quoted as saying, he also had more that he add to it and
Is more
would give.
complex than just yeah, it's taken out of context, or it's taken out of context. There's more to it.
Mhm. And then back in 2017, so this is kind of when I originally heard about him. And this is a
Yeah,
very sensitive type, subject. But he came out saying that victims of, and I don't know how YouTube is about this, but
yeah,
sexual assault must bear some responsibility in response to the rise of the Me Too movement. That got him canceled quickly. I do remember that because he was the poster child for that thought process, and there
yeah.
were people that were on
The
both
thought
sides
process of
of that.
victim blaming.
Yes, yep,
Yeah,
and there were both people, or there were several people that came out and spoke out about that, because there were folks that agreed with him and there were folks that vehemently disagreed with them, and
yeah.
those who disagreed with them were the loudest back then.
That's always how it goes.
Yep.
The people who
uh
agree don't make any noise because they agree.
mhm.
Anybody who disagrees, it doesn't matter who they are or what topic it is. The people who disagree are always the loudest.
So this guy became famous for being a personality, right? I want to say his fighting, like he wasn't known as being like a great kickboxer, all right, but
Mhm.
he's better than me at it. You know, he's trained for it, right? Like I'm not gonna go up against Andrew Tate and just assume I can hold my own. But his fame didn't come from kickboxing. His fame came from his online personality. He became sort of a hustler. He had content and things that he would sell to people, and he used his online platform to kind of make a name for himself. And he rose quickly. All right,
Yeah.
quickly
Jesus.
and pretty fast. And about a week ago, he got deplatformed, and the reason were multiple violations of community guidelines and terms of service, which included in our hate speech
Hate
policy.
speech. Yep.
Yep. And he came out today. He came out today and put this hour-long video together, and I watched the entire hour-long video in which he talked about and stated that nothing that he did said or violated any guidelines, and that the things that people were putting together was using his name, which is essentially what I did. All right. When I created this, I put in the title, Andrew Tate got deplatformed. Was it deserved? The reason I put that is because his name is going to draw clicks. All right. But the main part of this that we're going to eventually get to is censorship.
Hmm.
He stated, and his defense of his own self was, if you go back and listen to my content, I did or said nothing illegal. I did or said nothing that was unethical. And that the people that are doing hit pieces about me are taking short clips of long form content and then making me out to be the bad guy. But that he did nothing on his own platform, if you take in the totality of everything, that violated anything. And there was also this controversial video of him doing some 50 Shades of Grey type of activity with his girlfriend at the time. And he talked about that and actually showed or had the young woman come on herself and say that was something that me and him consented to, that we had a kink and we explored that kink, and it was consensual and there was nothing wrong about that video. So, hearing
I
all of
mean,
that, all right,
porn is porn. I mean,
getting that background, okay. Do you think that if somebody comes on and they espouse what people will say is misogynistic views, all right, what's the level of censorship that can be given to somebody that a big majority of people agree or think is wrong?
so first off, there's a big misconception about freedom of speech. Freedom of speech allows you to say, it gives you the ability to say what you want. It does not give you freedom of the responsibility to shoulder the consequences of what you say. Do you get where I'm coming from with that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if if I say something to you and you don't like it, you can tell me, I don't want to hear what you have to say. And I say, it's free speech. I can say what I want. And you decide you want to exercise your right to bear arms and punch me in the fucking head. You know what I mean? Bear arms. Um, you have every right to do that. It's illegal and you'll probably get in trouble, but I might also, because I instigated the situation. People don't like to hear that. People don't like to think that. They like to think this is a free country. And it is, within reason. 'Cause we're not actually very free. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, and we'll get into the whole freedom thing later. But hate speech is hate speech. And as much as I'm for freedom of speech and the right for everything that we have, hate speech is dangerous. Hate speech breeds violence and breeds more hate. I'm not saying you can't say it. Say what the fuck you want. It's a free country. Say what you want, but you're not free of the consequences. These platforms have their own set of rules. It is their platform. They are allowed to control it the way they choose. It is not owned by the government. It is owned by people, and people have the right to do those things. Now, the problem becomes is when you can say a business has the right to refuse service, and we've seen that when businesses refuse service in other topics, the businesses get in trouble. So there's a fine line, and it's a really fucking hazy line of what businesses are allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do, and will they be
Okay.
canceled or won't they be canceled. So in this instance, because we're not talking about those other ones, and that's because that's a whole nother complicated set of stories and rules. In this instance, these companies can get canceled over this too, if enough people feel that they're wrong for canceling him. But ultimately, they're willing to take that risk to remove what they consider hate speech. I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't. And they're within their legal right to do so, whether you like it or not. That's the kicker. Is people got to remember, it's whether you like it or not. It's not up to you. It's not your business. You don't get to choose. You could be mad about it or you could be happy about it. It doesn't matter which. Doesn't matter which. Obviously, the people happy with it are going to feel empowered, and all these activist groups are going to think, oh, we did something great. And that's good for them. But it's going to empower them to further censor people. And it, do I think some of his content was misogynistic? I'd have to see it to know. Those quotes out of context, although reading the quotes, I see where he went wrong.
Oh yeah.
If he feels that kind of way, then yes, that can be construed as misogynistic. What would have been more what would because he's injecting his own personal beliefs into his opinions, which we all do, but not everybody feels or believes that way, so somebody's going to take it wrong. Now, if he said, I believe someone should stay home and raise the children, that would have been okay. Like, I believe in the 50-50 rule where one person can work, one person can stay home. I don't care which it is, though. If my wife decided she wanted to go back to work full time and could make some buku bucks and I could stay home and raise the kids, I totally would. Totally would. And that's all I think matters, is that the kids have somebody at home with them and the house has somebody to manage it, because the home is like a business, dude. It really is. For your mental health and well-being, the house has to be managed. If you can both work and pull that off, more power to you. But I
Yeah.
like that
There's a
old
class called
traditional. Go ahead.
No, I was saying there's a class called home ec,
Yeah.
and I home ec is it might be called something different now. Yes,
Yeah, I have no idea.
managing your household. I think if you look at it as a business, all right, debts, liabilities, all that jazz, like you
Mhm.
can kind of understand and help your family grow in a better sense if you treat it
Yeah.
as such. That's
Yeah,
my
and
personal
and
opinion.
again, it doesn't have to be the ladies who do it. Like, nobody said they had to be, homebound their whole lives. That's not fair. If they want to do something else, I get that people aren't going to like to hear that. There's people out there who believe it. There's people out there who don't. That's the point. Let's have a conversation about it and talk about it. But don't just pass a rule in your little ecosystem you've created online and say this is the way it has to be. And first off, I don't know why he thinks he's the most famous person on the internet, because I mean, lots of people have never heard of him. I've never heard of him until just now. Like, never heard of this guy before. And it's good for him. He's amassed such a following, but I know plenty of content creators with much higher numbers than him. Like, and maybe it's because he's appealing to a certain demographic.
Okay.
And then you get into the problem of that sound chamber that people get trapped in when they're surrounded by like minded individuals, and everything they say is bouncing off the walls and coming back to them and being amplified by everybody else of like minded thought. And what happens is you start to get louder and your messages start to get stronger. And eventually, somebody who doesn't like you is going to hear what you have to say and is going to label it hate speech. Now, nothing about this is technically censorship. All of
Mm.
these platforms have terms of service and user agreements. And by using their platforms, you agree to these terms. If they don't want cussing in their videos and you say the F bomb, it doesn't matter how good of a person you claim to be. It, it doesn't matter how wronged you feel. It doesn't matter if somebody took a clip of you saying fuck and put you dancing on a unicorn and saying the word fuck 1,000 times. They're not wrong for doing it. You're wrong for saying it. You know what
That
I mean?
visual is awesome.
This guy is like, people cut what I said and made something about it. Yeah, that happens, dude. It's the internet. You know that. He's probably done that. You know what I mean? Like, content creators do that kind of shit. So it's not something new. You knew you could be misquoted. What he wanted to do was say what he felt and what he thought, and that was the only shit that mattered. And now he's trying to walk it back by saying he's a victim. Do you get the irony?
A little bit. Now
Do
I'm
you
gonna
get the
go back.
irony? He gets shit canned on Twitter for victim blaming, and then gets canceled. And you know what I mean? And he's blaming other people when, you know what I mean? Like, it's hilarious. He's shit canned for saying terrible things, and then he's like, other people are making my terrible words sound worse than they are. It's like, no, dude, you said terrible things.
He came
Yeah,
out.
it is what it is.
Yeah. There's two different sides to this. There was a professor in women and gender studies at Harvard that came out and said that he's less worried about banning people than I am about thinking of ways to make people act better. Which that's a man. You can. That's a make people act better. What's acting better,
See,
Joe?
that's scary. Like, that mentality, that's the Demolition Man mentality.
Uh-huh. What's
That's the
acting better?
demolition. No. What those words mean is acting the way I think you should act.
Yes. That's why I brought it up.
That's what that means. That does not mean people act better. When
Mhm.
somebody tells you that you should act like something else, it's because you don't act the way they want you to act. Nobody should be telling people how to act. They should just tell people to be kind to each other. How you act is irrelevant as long as you're kind. You know what I mean? You want to
Yep.
be a dick to people, you could be a dick to people. That's your God-given right. I don't care what religion you believe in. They gave you that ability to be a dick if that's what you so choose. But ultimately, you're not free of the consequences of your actions. If we start saying people have to act some kind of way, remember we talked about this before about it was like it was one of our earlier episodes where we talked about who gets to set the rules
Mhm.
for when somebody should be able to live a certain kind of way. Who gets to set that standard? What's good today isn't good tomorrow. We've established that. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And some of these people have good intentions, but the road to hell was paved with good intentions. You know what I
I've
mean?
never
And the next,
understood that.
it's the idea of the atom bomb. It was designed to create energy. It was designed to be something used to better the world.
Ah,
And we were
okay.
like, we can blow shit up with this? Bomb the fuck out of our bad guys. And ultimately we were wrong in doing so, but we were right at the time. You know what I mean?
Got you.
But but that's the thing is I'm like Oppenheimer, I think, was the one who created the missiles, the rocket systems and everything. It, I think I remember I'm going to say the quote, but I think it's actually from a movie, that the rockets performed admirably, but they landed on the wrong planet. You know what I mean? When they blew up, when they bombed Earth. But no, like, oh man, we're getting way out of here. You can't tell people how to act. Eh, Edgar Friendly said it in Demolition Man. You can't tell
Okay.
people how to act. If they want to be an asshole, let them be an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, that's their right. You can't take that away from people. You take that away from people, we become this uniform, pastel wearing, pussified, I hate to say it, form of society. And it will ultimately the human experience would be diminished for it. And the short-term effects sound great, the long-term effects would be catastrophic.
Okay. There's one more point that I want to bring up, and then we'll close this topic out.
Sounds
Hope
good.
Not Hate was one of the largest um, charities behind getting this guy banned. All right. They kind of started a campaign, and you could say that they were successful. All right.
Yeah.
Um,
So I would love if somebody from an organization like Hope Not Hate came on here and talked to us, because organizations like that worry me. Because again,
ooh.
they want, because again, I wonder where they're coming from. It's easy for people to be on the opposite side of that spectrum and be like, I don't like these. They want me to behave the way they think I should behave. And so they immediately hate them. Even though it's hope not hate, and it's hopefully just looking to create a better world, which is okay. That's an excellent endeavor. But I'd love to understand where they're coming from, because part of me violently rejects somebody else who's telling the world to act the way they think they should act. Now, if these people are just going around stopping hate speech and stopping misogyny and stuff like that, that's fine and that's good. But ultimately, whose right is it to take things away from other people because they disagree with what you're saying? And that's
Yep.
ultimately what this comes down to.
I'm going to
You
reach
know,
out to their organization, see if they do interviews or whatnot. See if we can
I'd love to talk to them. Yeah,
get them on, man. Now, there's
yeah.
this quote right here that they were quoted as saying, Tate is a symptom of wider societal misogyny, and we all have to do more to combat its corrosive impact on society and the very real dangers it poses to women. Something that I didn't talk about earlier is that in Tate's response today, all right, he waited about a full week to kind of give his take, and it was a well crafted, edited video that in which he supported himself, essentially, all right, who's going to go
Hmm.
against themselves.
Of course,
But
of course.
one of the things that he said that intrigued me, take people like Bill Cosby, take people like Deshaun Watson as of late, right? He's been accused of what he was accused of. I'm like I said, I'm not going to say it here because I'm not sure how YouTube works with the algorithm and
Was
certain
it
words.
was it grape?
No, not grape.
Okay,
It
good. As
was,
long as he wasn't graping anybody.
yeah, no, he
Jesus.
was um getting massages that went above regular massages.
Oh,
All
okay.
right. Pro football accused of, doing certain things. Tate made a statement that said, I challenge you with the name and reputation that I have to find anybody who said that I was rude, or to find a woman who would claim that I did anything that violated who they are as a human being. He said
I
he
mean,
he, he
he
was like
wasn't forcing
with
anybody to do anything.
he was like, with the level of who I am now, if I was a misogynist or if I did anything wrong to anybody out there, they would have came forward by now. He goes, where are those women at?
Yeah. So, I mean, getting a happy ending? Oh,
No,
so
that
hold on.
was Deshaun
Oh, okay.
at somebody
All right.
else. Yeah.
So Beth said, while I agree that misogynistic, racist, violent, etc. speech shouldn't be tolerated or accepted, I think the concerning thing is that with censorship, someone is setting the rules on what is acceptable, and it is scary to think about how censorship can affect the views we have as a society down the road, if that makes sense. That actually makes excellent
Yeah,
sense. That's exactly what I
yeah.
was alluding to with what I was saying. Like the
Hmm.
short term is we all feel good and happy in the moment. The short term, like right now, we're like, yes, we got a misogynist off the internet. Yeah, that's how these people feel. Down the road, what happens is we start passing laws about what you can and can't say. And we start losing the freedoms we have of this country where we're allowed to speak our mind because we start passing laws that you can't say this word. And then you can't say that word. And then you can't say my government officials are corrupt, and then you can't you no longer have freedom of of gathering, especially if it's in protest to that corrupt government. And it's a slow death of you start small, you start with these censorship rules and laws, and somebody might be listening to me and be like, he's insane. That is a long jump. But I'm not talking about something that's going to happen today. I'm talking about something that'll happen in 50 years. But it starts with losing one right. One. And once that happens, they're like, well, people are agreeing with us taking away their right to say these words. So let's come up with a bill and we'll throw some pages in way in the back. We'll pass some good laws in the beginning and some more censorship laws in the back. And we'll do that 5 or 6 times. We'll see how it goes. And the next thing you know, you're getting canceled by the government because you said something you didn't even know you couldn't say anymore. And again, that sounds crazy. That sounds crazy. It totally sounds crazy. But when was the last time you felt that the government wasn't crazy? Think
Hmm.
about all the shit that's been happening over the last 10, 15 years. Tell me that if one politician got a wild hair up their ass, we wouldn't have some law that'll really adversely affect us. And we'd be pissed about it. And maybe there'd be another riot or protest downtown. But ultimately, they'd be able to do it because that's what they do. And if we start giving
So,
them permission, if we start giving them permission, they'll start taking advantage.
so in a democratic society, do you think that a large enough people would allow something like that that would have kind of a mm,
It's not about
uh,
how many people, it's about how loud they are.
hmm, okay.
I think if we, no offense to Hope Not Hate, I want to talk to them. I want to learn about them. I want to learn about their mission and all the great things they've done, and hear where what I want to hear what they envision for the future of this country. But I'm afraid it's we think people could act better. It's not about being better. We can be better by being kind. But ultimately, you cannot take away people's rights to be assholes. You can't.
Hmm.
Because then what happens next? Eh,
That one movie that people get arrested for crimes that they didn't commit but were going to. What's the name of
Minority
that one?
Report.
Minority
Minority
Report.
Report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, about 30 years. That's what's
But
next.
even a system where they could predict the future was corrupted. They fudged the numbers so that they could gain better arrest rates and shit like that. Again, a good potential system deeply flawed because of humans. Because as people, we can be corrupted. You know what I mean? Like sure it's Hollywood, sure it's fake, but you're telling me if you had 3 people who could tell the future, they would use them to stop crime? Shenanigans. The US government would put them to work killing enemies and protecting our interests. They wouldn't stop
Our
crime. They don't give a
interest.
shit about that, huh? Our
I said our
interests.
interest.
Dude, politicians suddenly winning the lotto and fucking getting these billion-dollar grants or lobbyists just fucking funneling money. We need to know the stock market numbers for the next 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, come on, shenanigans. All right, we're getting off
Yep.
topic.
Hey, so Beth, shout out to you for coming in and adding your input. Definitely appreciate that. To everybody else that watched, let us know. I am going to reach out to Hope Not Hate, see if we can get them on
Yeah, that'd be
for
pretty cool.
a future episode. If it may be that our schedules might not work out if we can't do it live, but even if we did
Yeah,
something like
something
pre-recorded, I think
pre-recorded. Yeah,
that'd be
that'd be
dope to
awesome.
have a
That'd be awesome.
conversation. All right. Now, we had a third topic, but I think as a producer of this show, we should shelve. I hate saying SH words together. It doesn't ever come out right, except for spit. But with the SH. So we're going to shelve our third topic because that, in my opinion, deserves a little bit more time than we can give it for today's episode. All right. And the third topic was uh, oppression in the U.S. and people's perception, perceived perception of oppression. And that's spurned from a conversation that Joe and I had a weekend. I do want to get to the word of the day to close out the episode. So, Joe, what is our word for today?
Today's word, kids, is churlish.
Churlish?
Churlish.
Is that an English word?
That's an American word, yeah, or English word.
Churlish. Okay, churlish. Churlish.
It's got an
C
SH in there
H.
too. Go
Oh
ahead,
man.
CH. Go ahead.
CHURLISH. Churlish.
Excellent. Perfect.
All right. Churlish is an adjective,
Mm-hmm.
that describes a child's ability to go to church. Churlish.
No. It means rude in a mean-spirited and surly way.
A rude in a mean spirited
And
or what?
surly way.
Spell
SURLY.
sorely. SUR.
SURLY.
Okay. I'm going to put that on the screen here. Last week's word was vehemence.
Vehemence.
I don't know how you pronounce it. Yeah, it's the display of strong feelings or passion. Today's word, which I don't think is an English word,
It's an
churlish.
English word.
Rude in a mean-spirited and surly way. All right. I don't know if I'll be able to ever use that one in a sense, but I'm gonna try one day.
Like
Churlish.
you're being churlish. Like that joke was churlish. Like you're being
Hey,
rude
okay.
in a mean spirited way. Like when people make shitty jokes, being assholes, but they're hiding it behind a joke. Yeah, that's being churlish.
Okay. All right, churlish. All right, Joe, we have gotten through another episode of the Just Joking podcast. We didn't get through all of our topics today, but we do appreciate those that tuned in live. Beth has been a supporter of our live stream as well. She's somebody who both Joe and I know, and I thank her and anybody that tunes in whenever they have the time to hear two guys share their opinions about topics that they just want to talk about. All right. If anybody ever wants to come on and be a part of the Just Joking podcast, to add and include gift from time want to chime in. That's a capability that we have. So I'm gonna start it might be dangerous if we get a little bit more famous, but for right, not a lot of people know who we are. But we would definitely like to have other people come on and give their opinion as well. So if that's something that you'd be interested in doing, not just you, Beth, but
In general, yeah.
we're open to that. In
Yeah.
general,
Do
we're
it before
open
I
to
get
that.
canceled.
Do it before we both get canceled.
Yeah, do it before we all get canceled here. Everybody getting
All
canceled
right,
out here.
Jeff said it is nice hanging out. Glad that you spent an hour of your Wednesday with us, Beth.
We appreciate it.
Ellie, who I also know, who joined a little bit as well. Shout out to anybody else who's going to be tuning in or listening to the Just Joe King podcast. If you have any questions that you want to ask us on our social media or shoot us an email at just.joe.king.podcast. It's a whole lot of dots in there. At gmail.com. We will read it and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Hope not hate. We're going to reach out. Join us on our live stream. We'd appreciate that.
That would be pretty awesome. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Yep. All right. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Stay safe and peace.